Bonsoir, mes amis. Welcome back to Monaco. Last time we made off with some of the finer arts. This time we'll do our own piece of performance art. Actually, I haven't taken the redhead out, so let's give her a shot. This mission starts off fairly slowly. You walk in the front door, you make your way around, you dodge around the police officer, or in my case, you don't. The redhead's ability is to charm angry enemies, and that can be a bit of a lifesaver in some situations, but sometimes it can be a bit irritating where you charm someone you didn't want to, and you can't get rid of them. They can help you. They'll open locked doors and they'll open alarm doors for you, but I wanted to get to the upper right area first, but I'll take the crypt. The crypt is pretty straightforward. It's a large area, there are guards patrolling, but if you take your time and you use your disguise as well, there really shouldn't be a problem no matter who you're playing. I mentioned the redhead can be kind of a savior in some spots. It can kind of be sort of a get-out-of-jail-free card if you get spotted. Anybody who becomes slightly aware of you, their question mark fills up, they'll instantly be charmed and they won't be able to do anything but follow you around. This can be a good thing, but there's also something else that'll come up later that can actually make it a bad thing. You notice there's a guard actually following around the civilian up here, and this is the bad thing I was talking about. If the civilian gets charmed on you, but the guard doesn't, the guard will actually just blindly follow around the civilian. And since you can only have one person charmed at a time, that means that you're going to have a guard who can very easily get aggroed on you and no way to take care of them. So, if you aren't very effective at getting rid of the redhead's charmed enemies, you can have somebody following you around for quite a while, and that can be a problem. The only effective ways I've found to get rid of the redhead's charm is to go on a vent or grab a disguise or go in a bush, something to break line of sight permanently. This area seems a bit intimidating at first blush, and I'll admit it definitely is. But once it requires you to do two things. One is to get an idea of where the laser's blind spots are. For instance, they're not fully rotating around; they're hitting a 180-degree radius and just going back. Not a radius, but you know. The other is that you just kind of have to commit to where you're going. You know, don't get caught up in the middle or else you'll get caught, stuff like that.
Bonjour.
Tu la trouves comment, la petite serveuse?
At this point, I realize I'm missing a piece of gold and it's in the top right. And of course, I take just about the most securities route possible to get there.
Oh!
Quoi? Arrêtez-vous. Vous n'avez rien à faire ici.
Oh!
That's something else that's a redhead, is that if you're running full speed, your, whoever you have charmed won't necessarily be able to keep up with you. So, sneaking is still important. As compared to this dining room, the courtyard here can actually be a little bit daunting. You have two lasers going back and forth, and they're both hooked up to machine gun turrets. If you're not careful, you can get turned into Swiss cheese pretty quickly. There are bushes at the top and bottom of the area, but honestly, they can be as much of a trick as as anything. It can be pretty difficult to get through without taking any damage. And as a matter of fact, I don't manage it. The second floor also requires a bit of patience, not only to grab this gold from in front of the guards' noses, but also to grab the royal jewel on the throne. The alarm panels are hooked up to the machine gun, and the lasers are hooked up to alarms. If you don't care about taking damage, you can just brute force it and run right over the alarm panels and not worry about it, but that does run the risk of you getting knocked back by the bullets and getting pushed onto one of the tripwires. So, again, it mostly comes down to being patient and just being decisive. You probably have more time than you think. There are two police officers at the next to the royal chambers, so you want to be careful where you're standing. You always have to unlock the top door, and I can't use that little alcove there to dodge these two. And the church, well, or the chapel rather, that's a whole nother problem. But we'll be there in a second.
Non, ne me tuez pas.
As I mentioned, the best way to get rid of a guard is probably to jump into a nearby bush. Well, to get rid of a charm guard, rather. The only effective way to get rid of a charm is to do something that will very break line of sight. You know, jump into a vent, jump into a bush, put on a disguise, or use a smoke bomb. Any of these things will remove a charm guard from your influence. So as for why the chapel is a bit difficult to get through, you have these lasers with these intersecting paths, and those are hooked to alarms. And then down the sides, you have alarm panel or floor panels that are hooked up to machine guns. And if you're not careful, you can accidentally step down the rows and kind of get caught there. It doesn't necessarily pay to try and stop on the sides next to the floor panels either. If you stop in the wrong spot, the lasers can still lock onto you and set off the alarm. And of course, despite my best efforts, still happens. The royal chambers are a bit more of a wrinkle. On the right side you have the Queen's bedroom, and on the left side you have the King's bedroom. Both sides have some of the royal jewels sitting on top of the bed, but just getting to the bed or getting around the bed can be some of the problem. They both have some fairly distinct laser patterns set up on either side of them. This one, for instance, has these sets of solid lasers on either side. You kind of just have to turn it off, rush in, grab what you need to, and then rush back out. And of course, if you spend too much time there, the cone alarm will go off and you'll be in all sorts of trouble. And one of the bigger problems of this entire map is just that there are so many damn cats. It's exceedingly easy to step on one. At least inside the Queen's quarters. The King's quarters, he's more of a dog person, which has its own problems. Those wavering lasers on either side of the King's bed, all they'll do is set off the machine guns. Not that that's anything insignificant. The real problem with this room is at the bottom. None of the dogs in this area are particularly threatening if you're quick, but this right here is the biggest problem. That safe is just close enough to that laser that it makes it damn near impossible to get in, open it even with a wrench, and get out before you're spotted by the laser. Much less grabbing all the gold. You're so close to the radius on the alarm that it's pretty damn difficult to get through, but surprisingly I managed it. I thought I tripped that one. Anyway, it requires some fancy footwork to get through that one. Much like the top of the area, there are some wavering lasers and there are some cone lasers, but all you have to do is rush across the side here, open this door, and that should be nearly it. Unfortunately, I missed the piece of gold that the civilian in the upper left is carrying, so I have to make my way over that way. Something it's just neat. We're actually wearing a different disguise now. Depending on what type of disguise you pick up in the level, it'll actually change your appearance. I picked up a nice pink disguise that time, which is actually a dress. Anybody can put on the dress. So if you play it right, you can have the cleaner looking like Hitman Codename 47 wearing a dress. I like it. Strong enough for a woman, but gentle enough for a man. If you're playing one of the female characters, however, then, well, in that case, you just look like a classy lady. And there's nothing wrong with that. With everything cleaned out, all you have to do is make your way back down to street level and take the van you came in on.
Oh, et puis... tant pis.
Did I mention that there are way too many cats in this level? Because I'm about to step on a bunch of cats. Every time you step on a cat,
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
we'll bring another guard. So if you already have one coming to inspect one cat, stepping on it again will bring another guard. It's a trial. So, anyway, let's talk about some of the differences in this mission between Classic Mode, which I just played, and Enhanced Mode, which was just recently released. First things first, we get a couple new items, including, is that a rocket launcher? Huh, stealthy. The other major difference for this level is that the crypt no longer exists in Enhanced Mode. The only thing you have to worry about is the street level floor and everything on the way up. The crypt has just been completely removed and that area has been replaced with ladder vents. It's an ambitious change. There's also Seth. Thanks, Seth. See you next time.